Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Pokemon Trainer Evan channel. I'm your host, Evan Davies. Thank you again for joining me. And welcome back to our Pokemon ranking series. Today, we've got regional forms. So, those very, very popular regional Pokemon, which always just jazzes everyone up. It's one of the new features that always gets people talking every time a new region or a new game is even announced. Is, well, what are the new regional forms? Because it's quite cool to get those included. It's always fun to get a nice little spin on the old stuff and those old Pokemon that we all know and love dearly. As always, I've got my major 3 or 2 and a soft 3 criteria on how I'm going to be ranking these Pokemon. Number 1, as always, is design. Design first, always. What is it doing with the Pokemon? And part of this is going to be, does it improve upon the original? Because a lot of the time it looks like regional variants can be essentially just known as a do-over, or can look like a do-over. Like, oh, well, we like the idea, we like the concept that we started last time, but we think this is better now. So I'm going to go into design and what does it mean for the original Pokemon. The second one I think that's really important is, does it evoke the region that it's in? Does it do something to the Pokemon to make it fit that region more, or to really evoke those feelings that the region's giving you? Does it give you that inspiration that the region has? And I think that's really important for regional designs, which is what I get from a lot of these Pokemon. And the third, the soft one, it's always preference and notes. How do I feel about these things, and some notes that we have. But without further ado, after that very long intro, let's begin. Now, I will probably be putting all of this into a 3-parter, but we'll see, and we'll go as we can. So we're going to start Alolan Rattata. I think Alolan Rattata is actually an improvement over the OG. So because of that, I'll give it a C for now. I might pull it up simply because of this. I'm not a huge Rattata fan. However, I will say that I think this silly little design of just adding essentially a mustache actually helps it a lot and makes it look more like a tropical style rat instead of just some weird purple rat thing. I'll give it a C. I might move it up though. And I'll continue the theme here with Alolan Raticate. Honestly, I'm going to give it a B. I don't like Raticate. I am not a Raticate fan. If you checked out my Twitch stream from yesterday, which would have been March 18th, you'll see I'm not a if you check that out, I'm not a Raticate fan. But I think this, just the idea of more of the chubby cheek design, really adds something. It makes it look more like it's just rooting through jungles, rooting through forests, which is really supposed to be what you're evoking through Alola and that Hawaiian-esque idea. So I'm going to give Alolan Raticate a B. And now let's go to a King of Kings. You can't even argue this. Alolan Raichu is an S. When you think of Hawaii, which is the basis of Alola, you think of tropics, you think of fun, you think of vacation, you think of those things. What does everybody want to, a lot of people want to try to do when they go to Hawaii or when they go to the West Coast? They want to surf. They want to try. They want to shred it up like, they're one of the surfer bros. Alolan Raichu takes Raichu from probably a C or a B level Pokemon and takes it to an S immediately. Because it just says, hey, what if it could surf on its surfboard? And it takes all the great ideas from that surfing Pikachu that we saw way back in the day it takes it to now. It's just like, why don't we just let it surf on its tail? It's brilliant. It's brilliant, and it's so simple, and it brings the softer edges of a relaxed vibe of Hawaii or Alola. It's perfect. So well done. So well done for a regional starter. Alolan Raichu is great. Now I'm going to go to Sandshrew. Alolan Sandshrew, I like a lot because I like ice typings, but I don't know. I guess I'm going to give it a C because I don't think it's much of an improvement. It's very much more that, like, oh, this is a different version. I like that it kind of looks like it's an igloo, but I don't like the helmeted style look of the headpiece. But I like the back piece a lot. Uh, and because of that, I think I'll give it the C. I don't have a lot to say about it, but I think it's a nice tangential regional starter or regional form in that some regional forms are so stupid. Some regional forms are a complete improvement on the OG, and some are just what theoretically it should be, which is, hey, BT dub. This is a different version of this and completely different vibe. And I think Alolan Sandshrew hits that. But it's kind of just there for me. Alolan Sandslash, super cool with the ice crystals. I'll give it the B. I like taking the original notes of the spike on the back and the spiky hair of the original Sandslash, and then completely kind of taking that and evoking something different, but clearly showing it's an ice type. I love that. I think that's a really wise decision. Um, it's odd to see kind of ice types in general in Alola, because why would you think of anything icy or snowy or cold related when it comes to a tropical region? But alas, it's a Pokemon game. You're going to have that, and that's okay. And I think they do that pretty well because it gives it a slightly exotic look, which is pretty cool. And so for that, I'll give a B to Alolan Sandslash. Now here's a more subtle one. Alolan Vulpix. Alolan Vulpix, to me, is an A, and I kind of want to put it in an S. It's mostly because of this. It was so smart. It took a phenomenal Pokemon design and just said, what if we change the color scheme and change the typing and slightly vary up the fur and the tail? And some people could say, oh, it's so lazy. But is that lazy if it's already great? To then just tweak it a little bit to make something different that people are clearly going to like. I think Alolan Vulpix is a tremendous Pokemon. And immediately, just through those color scheming changes, takes it from this fiery, mystical fox to, ooh, it's this mystical icy fox. And it's cold and it's just different. And I think that's tremendous. I think that's great. So I love Alolan Vulpix. It's an A for me. Which you can probably tell from my next one. Alolan Ninetales is an S. I think the original Ninetales design is one of the best in all of Gen 1. And I think Alolan Ninetales is better. I don't know if you can see it from the back here. We have Ninetales and Alolan Vulpix in the background here of the shot. I don't know if you guys can see it or not. But, my wife and I are both big fans of those Pokemon. Alolan Ninetales gives this wisping wind style vibe with the color scheme to really hit the cold notes, but a different variation on cold. Whereas Alolan Sandslash, if you follow my cursor, is so obviously ice with the spikes. This is ice in a completely different way. It suggests cold, it suggests wind, but it still gives the mythical vibe, this whimsical, mythical, magical vibe that Ninetales has. I love that for Alolan Ninetales. I think it's breathtakingly beautiful. Even has a little bit of that Suicune vibe, and I think Suicune is such a majestic Pokemon. I think Alolan Ninetales hits all those notes. Tremendous, tremendous Pokemon design. I adore it. I think it's great. Alolan Diglett, on the other hand, is a D. Why? I like it from a derpy angle, but it just gets hair. It looks like a potato with a little bit of a spud, or that little bit of mold that comes from a little bit of mold and hair that comes from a spuddy potato. That's what it looks like. It doesn't really give me anything different, and the typing doesn't really change. It's just Whatever. It's a D. Diglett's such a simplistic, easy Pokemon, and then to somehow make it dumb in the wrong way, I don't know about that. Now, this is one I'm conflicted on. I'll give Alola and Dugtrio a C. I personally am not a huge Alola and Dugtrio fan. However, one of the criteria I'm using for this is regional implication. How much does it evoke the region that it's in? I kind of dig the fact that it gets this blonde flowing hair. No matter the design, it's this blonde flowing hair to make it as though it really has the vacation vibe, as if Dugtrio is working so hard that all of a sudden it's like, yo, peace, I'm taking a vacation. And it hits that vacation tropical vibe of Alola. So that's why I'll have it as a C. I'm not a big fan, but I think it does have those notes, which is really smart. And that's where I just can't... I can't really take it down as much as Diglett, where Diglett feels intentionally lazy, but doesn't hit the right note of lazy. Where I think Alolan Dugtrio is a different vibe, which is kind of cool. Whew. Now, in my opinion, the lowlights. Alolan Mouth is an F. I hate to say it. I think there's a lot of fat, cute, chunky Pokemon out there. I don't think Alolan Meowth is one of them. And I think that's maybe what they're trying to go for. I don't see the parallels to what they're trying to do. There could be another cat or tropical-based species that I'm not aware of that they were using for the basis of this design. But frankly, I don't think it's great. I just think it takes some of the better vibes of Meowth and takes them down. I don't think it does much else. And I get it, Meowth has more of a rounder head, but it looks more that cartoonish thing. This looks just overall odd, and that's my problem. And odd, not in a good way, in a bad way. And I'm going to say the same thing for Alolan Persian. I get it. Some people can say Persian is a lazy design. You could go with that. I mean, but it's a Gen 1 Pokemon. There were restrictions. You had to be a little bit more simplistic in the designs. It's the beginning of the franchise. You know, you're not going to get Greninja in Gen 1. I think Persian's a great Pokemon, actually. And then to get Alolan Persian, where it's just like, what if it's Persian with a big, fat, puffy face? Oh, and it's gray. I don't think it hits well. It doesn't do much for me. I just think it's a poor design, personally. I'm not one... I don't want to ever come off as though I'm really destroying an artist, because I know myself well enough. I love editing and criticism, but if someone just came down on my art, it would hurt me dearly. I'm not trying to destroy an artist here, but this just, I don't think it evokes the right vibes. And I think it's more of a what if question gone wrong than a what if question gone right. And that's where I would have this Alolan Persian. It's an F. Not for me. Alolan Geodude, I kind of dig. Again, I'll give it a... You know what? I'm going to give it a B. I like Alolan Geodude a lot, simply because with subtle color changes and those little bit of spikes that look like hair, it gives a different vibe to Geodude. And a really underappreciated Pokemon. When you think of Gen 1, so many of them are so well based with animals and have not a 1-for-1, but close to a 1-for-1 comparison. I love the idea that just made a rock with arms, and we accepted it as just like that's what Pokemon is. I love that for Geodude, and I think it's really nice to evoke those things still in a redesign, essentially, with Alolan Geodude. So I like it. It's a B, and I like the eyebrows. It still looks very rocky, which I dig, but it just looks like it still has some more of that cool, classic personality vibes of Geodude, while giving it a little bit something different. I like that. Alolan Graveler, I would say, does something similar. Actually, I'm going to give it a C, mostly because of this. I think Alolan Graveler looks, instead of the subtlety and the slight changes of Geodude, but still some more prominent features. Graveler looks a lot more like they're like, well, what if we just gave it speckles? But I don't think it's inherently bad. I just think it's a better version of the Diglett thing, where it's like, we added to it. Is it super substantial? Maybe not. But I think it's just there. I would say Graveler is the most meh of the designs across the board for the Alola region. But that's where I would go with that. Now, Alolan Golem is such an interesting, unique thing. It's so weird. I'm going to give it a B. Because of this. A, clearly I'm biased for beards. I love the bearded look. I don't think the bearded look actually really does a ton for this. But I think the beard looks more like this explosive rock piece, right? The mustache is what is more just like, what? Like, why does Golem have a mustache? Because he does now. Okay. Very weird, very odd, but sometimes weird and odd works, and for some reason, weird and odd with this Golem works. The interesting most piece is the cannon on the top of the head, on the top of the back. It's almost like this hunchback cannon. Is a very unique vibe and very different, and one you would not see coming. I could easily see someone playing Sun and Moon and getting an Alolan Geodude and be like, okay, cool. And knowing Graveler and being like, okay, well, all right. It's kind of a basic Graveler change. And then getting this Alolan Golem and be like, why does it have a cannon on its back? I don't know, but it does. It kind of works. I dig it. I think it's great. And so I'll give it a B. Now, these two, I'm thrilled with. Going up next, if you're looking at my screen, it's a little discombobulated. I'm just using what I found off of TierMaker to make this best quality video I could. Alolan Grimer is an A. I think Alolan Grimer is so smart. What do you do to make slime regional? You give it a tropical vibe. And I love, it's odd that it's the bearded thing. It looks like it has a yellow beard, but it doesn't strike me as a beard. The Alolan Grimer, it just looks like this neon weird toxicity thing. And I love that. It looks like this toxic waste monster, but it's in the tropical vibes. I love it. I don't know why, but I think it really hits Alola well. It does enough with the design and changes enough of the design with just by color scheme that it really hits the region well. And I like that. I think that's really well done. And I think if you could tell by the vibe, Alolan Muck is an S. The rainbow idea of Alola, where if you look at Hawaii, if you know anything about Hawaii, a rainbow's even on their license. You get your driver's license, at least at one time, Hawaii had a rainbow on the license. The mascot for the University of Hawaii is the Rainbow Warriors. Clearly rainbows and tropical works well. And they went, let's make our giant sliming toxic refuge thing muck. Let's make it tropical. And I am here for it. Glorious design. Glorious. I love it. I am giving the chef's kiss to Alolan Muck. Alolan Muck. So well done. So well done. How can you hate that? It's great. It's a highlight for me. And now I'm going to go Alolan Executor now. I will give it a B. I get why other people like it. It's a little too goofy for my taste. What I hate most about it is just the typing. Why does it magically have a long neck and get a dragon type? I don't know. But it evokes the region well by giving a more tropical coconut tree vibe and a tropical palm tree vibe. That's cool. I think that's great. I'm just odd about the typing because I think the typing's off, personally. That's just me. I don't have much to say about it because it's just such a goofball weirdo. For some people it works. For me, personally, it doesn't work, but I get the appeal of it. So it's kind of fun. It's weird going off of a Pokemon like Muck that I absolutely adore in this rendition to Executor that I think slowly but surely is gaining more and more popularity because it's just so off-the-wall weird goofball. I think the best thing they've ever done with it is Pokemon Go, how the head doesn't even show up if you're like in a raid battle in Pokemon Go, the head doesn't even show up because it's so tall. I think that's kind of funny. So I get the goofball vibes that other people like. I'm not crazy about it, but I do think it hits the regional notes very, very well. And last but not least of our Alola Pokemon, we have Alolan Marowak. A little disappointed there's no Alolan Cubone. However, Alolan Marowak by far is an S. I adore Alolan Marowak. I think it takes a Pokemon that... I think Cubone with the original two, Cubone and the original Marowak, the Cantonese or Kanto Marowak. Cubone is by far better. Because Marowak ceases to look like it has a skull on its head, and it just looks like a head was infused on another body almost. Where Alolan Marowak takes the skull vibe properly and meshes it with the original design, and then adds the Fire Dancer vibe and evokes the idea of culture and evokes the idea of ancestors and the past and meshes them all together in such a beautiful combination. I remember when regional designs actually were one of the first things that got me back into Pokemon. So I was never like out of Pokemon, but I didn't have a Nintendo DS or a Nintendo 3DS for a very, very long time. I actually got one from a coworker who was just nice enough that he had an extra one and a copy of Pokemon X, and he just said, "Hey, we've talked about Pokemon before. I think you'd like this." I was like, "Wow, I can't believe this. Thank you." And it was as Sun and Moon was just coming out, I believe. And I remember looking at some of the regional designs once they were there, and Alolan Marowak just struck my fancy. It just hit me like, wow, that is such a cool Pokemon. And I think it evokes so many regional themes, ties it really well together, and then I think it brings even better vibes to already great storytelling through character that Cubone and Marowak have. It's phenomenal. What a great Pokemon. What a great Pokemon. I can't say enough about Alolan Marowak. But however, I'm looking at the timing, and I think it's going to be best. We're going to end here for today after we got through Gen 7. So we're going to end with this. That's going to be part 1. We're going to have a part 2. I am still mastering fingers on screen. Sorry. Part 2. Coming up of this one, where we're going to go through the Galar region in Gen 8. And we'll test where Gen 9 is going to be. I want to make sure each video is great content for you. But with that being said, that's going to be part 1. Thank you for joining me on this rankings today. If you have not seen it already, please go like, follow, subscribe this channel, and go check out the other stuff, Pokemon card openings. We got ourselves some wonderful custom regional stuff that I've designed myself in the Halzari region series, which I'm really, really happy with, and I hope you check that out. I got a post up right now on YouTube with a poll. Go check it out. Please give me a vote on what you think is the best one I've done so far, your favorite in that poll. Check out TikTok, Instagram, Twitch, here on YouTube, wherever you find this. If you're somehow on the dark web and you found this, I don't care. Hope you liked it. But either way, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it. I'll see you guys here for part 2. Peace.